It was a cold Friday night, and 19-year-old Caleb Turner had the house all to himself. His parents had gone out of town for the weekend, and he was looking forward to a quiet night of movies and pizza. By 11 p.m., the house was silent except for the hum of the refrigerator and the faint ticking of the living room clock. The kind of silence that makes you suddenly aware of your own heartbeat. Caleb was halfway through a horror movie when he heard Etia knock at the door. Not a loud one, just 3 slow knocks. He paused the movie and waited, expecting to hear it again. Maybe it was the delivery guy who got the wrong house. But when he checked his phone, there were no messages, no notifications, nothing. He walked to the front door and looked through the peephole. Nothing. The porch light flickered faintly, casting a pale yellow circle on the empty front steps. The street beyond was dead quiet. He locked the door again and went back to the couch. But then, 3 more knocks. This time louder. Almost impatient, Caleb froze. The knocks weren't coming from the front door anymore. They were coming from the back. He turned off the TV and stood still, listening. The sound came again, this time closer, like someone was tapping on the kitchen window. He slowly crept to the kitchen, gripping the flashlight he kept by the counter. Through the window's reflection, he could see only the dark backyard, the faint outline of the old oak tree swaying in the wind. And then, movement. Something ducked behind the tree. Caleb's breath caught in his throat. He grabbed his phone and called his parents, but the call wouldn't go through. No signal. The house suddenly felt smaller, suffocating. Every creak in the wooden floor sounded like footsteps. He locked every door, shut every curtain, and tried to convince himself it was just his imagination. But then came the 3rd knock, this time from upstairs. Caleb's blood ran cold. He was alone. No one else had a key. The sound echoed through the hallway. Tap, 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 coming from his bedroom door. He took one shaky step at a time up the staircase. The air felt heavier with each step. When he reached his bedroom door, the knocking stopped. Silence. He pushed the door open slowly. Nothing inside. Then his phone buzzed suddenly. A text. From an unknown number. Stop opening doors. Before he could react, the lights went out. Total darkness. Caleb turned on his flashlight, its beam trembling as much as his hands. And that's when he saw it: fingerprints. Bloody fingerprints trailing down his window from the inside. He backed away, his heart hammering against his ribs. Another message popped up. I told you not to open doors. And then, from behind him, a whisper. You left one unlocked. The flashlight fell to the floor, the beam catching a glimpse of a figure, pale, grinning, and standing in the doorway. The next morning, the police found the house empty. Front door wide open. Caleb's phone lay on the floor, screen cracked, still showing the last message. Now you're home alone too. It was just past midnight when Noah Greene realized the house didn't sound right. He had lived there his entire life, an old countryside home that creaked and groaned with every shift of wind. But that night, the silence felt wrong, too heavy, too expectant. His parents had gone to visit his aunt 3 towns over, leaving him alone for the weekend. He'd told them he didn't mind. At 20, he liked the quiet. He had plans to catch up on his studies, play a few games, and maybe finally sleep in without being woken by his dad's morning coffee grinder. But around 12:43 a.m., he began to feel watched. At first it was subtle, the sense that his reflection lingered a moment too long when he passed the hallway mirror, or that the shadows in the corners of the room shifted slightly when he looked away. He shook it off and went back to his laptop until he heard it. A whisper, soft, barely audible, but unmistakable. Noah. He froze, eyes darting around the room. The sound had come from behind the wall, right where his bookshelf stood. He waited, holding his breath. Nothing, just the hum of the old radiator. He laughed nervously to himself. Maybe I'm just tired. But then it came again. Noah, come upstairs. This time the voice was clearer, feminine, calm, almost gentle. It sounded like his mother. He pushed his chair back, heart thundering. His mom was 2 hours away. The floorboards above him creaked, slow, heavy steps moving from one end of the hallway to the other. Noah grabbed the flashlight from the drawer and started up the stairs, his hands trembling. The higher he climbed, the colder it got, like the warmth was being sucked out of the air. When he reached the top step, everything went quiet again. Then came the sound of whispering, dozens of voices this time, all murmuring just beyond the bedroom doors. He turned slowly, his flashlight beam shaking. The whispers grew louder, like they were crawling through the walls. He can hear us now. He's finally alone. He stumbled back and nearly dropped the flashlight. The voices fell silent. He stood there, his heart hammering, trying to convince himself he was imagining it. But then his phone buzzed, a message from his mom. Relief washed over him for a second, until he opened it. It wasn't from her number. It was an unknown contact. Why did you come upstairs? Noah's throat went dry. He typed back, "Who is this?" But before he could hit send, another message appeared. "We told you to stay downstairs." The hallway light flickered, and from the corner of his eye, Noah saw something, a shadow, long and thin, stretching across the floor, but with no one there to cast it. He ran back downstairs, slamming the bedroom door behind him. His breathing was ragged, his chest tight. He grabbed the landline phone, but it was dead. The display blinked with static instead of numbers. That's when he heard it. Footsteps, coming down the stairs. One slow step at a time, each one heavier than the last. He hid behind the couch, his flashlight off. The living room lights flickered again, humming weakly. He could see the shadows moving under the doorway, like something tall was pacing just outside. "Noah." The same voice again, so close now. "You left the door open." He turned toward the front door. It was slightly ajar, swaying with the wind, but he remembered locking it. He knew he had locked it. The whisper came from right behind him this time. "We're inside now." Noah spun around, flashing his light, and saw handprints. Hundreds of bloody handprints smearing across the walls, appearing one after another as if invisible fingers were painting them in real time. He screamed, stumbling backward toward the kitchen. The whispers became a chorus of overlapping voices, hissing, laughing, calling his name over and over until the sound became unbearable. He grabbed a knife from a drawer and turned toward the basement door, the only place he hadn't checked. The air was freezing now, his breath visible. He opened the door slowly. Pitch black darkness. He shone his flashlight down, the beam catching something on the steps, a footprint. Wet, bare, leading up from the basement. He dropped the flashlight. It rolled down the stairs, flickering as it fell, landing in front of a face. Pale, smiling, eyes black as ink. Noah's scream was swallowed by the darkness as the door slammed shut behind him. The next morning, when his parents returned, the house was silent. Noah's phone sat on the kitchen counter, screen cracked, showing one unsent text. "They're not outside. They're inside the walls." The walls of the living room were scratched faintly, with a single word repeated over and over. "Listen." And from inside the walls, if you stood still enough, you could still hear it, the faint, terrified whisper of a boy calling for help. "Please, let me out.